What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. Hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you're having a wonderful Tuesday. It is June the 17th, 2025. We are live in our Bleacher Report show, the first of two that I will be conducting this week, as I do every single week. You can watch me live every Tuesday and Thursday, as noted, at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time in the Bleacher Report app. You can also watch these on demand in the BR app. Subscribe. Follow me right down below. If you are in the BR app, you can get access to all my streams right away, et cetera, et cetera. You can also follow me on all levels of social media. As you can see, I'm on other platforms that aren't even listed on this graphic, which reminds me I have to redo the graphic, but these are also these streams, these shows. They are accessible on demand on the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel. We have two Bleacher Report shows every week, obviously. So if you're at the BTB YouTube channel, what is up? Thank you for subscribing. If you did, if you haven't, please consider doing so. Like the video, all that fun stuff. Our YouTube channel is popping. We have all sorts of fun stuff, all sorts of conversations that have been happening with different people who cover and know the Cowboys on what's today, Tuesday. As if I hadn't said that already. On Tuesday, 105.3 The Fans, Sean Sharif stopped by. Great conversation. On Thursday, we'll have a conversation with Lindsay Rhodes from Sumer Sports. Next Tuesday, a conversation with Joe Hoyt from DLS Sports. And then next Thursday, going to be checking in with my man Tony Catalina from the Austin Statesman, who covers Texas Aggies these days. So a lot of fun stuff, obviously, is the whole point, and things beyond that. Obviously, that's just what's immediately on the docket in front of you. As far as this specific docket, I wanted to get into something that popped into my mind when I was walking my dogs. That happens a lot relative to content creation for me. And it was, we're going to get to three good things, but three things, it's really five. I have a list of five, but three things that happened this offseason. The top three things, kind of three or things you may have forgotten about. The offseason can be long, right? It's June 17th, and sometimes, you know, you may find yourself wondering, like, did that happen like this offseason? Was, you know, like whatever, because it's been a long time since not only we saw the Cowboys play a game in general, but a competitive game or a game where it, you know, even if it was mathematically competitive, where it felt competitive. It's been a very long time since we've seen Dak Prescott play football for this team. So some parts of the memory, some parts of the mind can feel foggy relative to things like this. So I think it's important, you know, especially with training camp about 5 weeks out, to kind of, you know, bless, that might have been loud. So that was kind of what I meant for it to sound like, when, you know, dust off the old memory bank and remember what has happened over the course of the last few months. So without further ado, let's do this. And thanks to the Blog and the Boys archive section, we're going to be able to do this much more easily. By the way, check out blogandtheboys.com 24/7, 365 for the latest and greatest in Dallas Cowboys news, discussion, and analysis. So this is the first thing that I wanted to get to. Now, this is not a good thing, but it's important, and it did happen this offseason. As you can see, January 27, 2025. This was not even 5 months ago, when, in case you somehow are unaware, this still that you're seeing here is this Stephen Jones. If I play it, you won't hear it, but this image of Stephen Jones, in fact, let me wait and pause it at this particular moment. The real ones will know exactly why. Stephen Jones said during the Dallas Cowboys press conference introducing Brian Schottenheimer as the team's head coach, he said this drought that people say we're in. The quote, as I transcribed for you on social media and here in the article, obviously we're also evaluating where it didn't go right in terms of this drought that people say we're in terms of a championship game or a Super Bowl. Now, I'm not here to redrag Steven. I don't think that would really serve any purpose. I'm definitely not here to tell you how silly this was. I'm not here to tell you that it is a drought. I'm also not here to tell you that Steven is misusing air quotes. Definitely not going to highlight those things. But I am here to tell you that I believe this was the last moment that crap was bad. All right. Now, this was the last moment in which things were very not good, with the V capitalized, all of it capitalized, very not good. At this moment, we were down bad. At this moment, Brian Schottenheimer had not impressed us. At this moment, the Cowboys had not made some trades, certainly for George Pickens. At this moment, the Cowboys had not been somewhat active in free agency, certainly relative to their particular context. This was the bottom of the barrel. This was 180 degrees due south. It was at this moment that the ship began to turn around. And I don't say that to say the Cowboys are winning the Super Bowl, watch out, blah, blah. You know that I'm being real with you. But everything just about from this moment on has been, you know, legit. It's been, worth smiling about, worth, I mean, worth, I don't want to say celebrating, but it's been worth, um, you know, worth clapping about is maybe the best way to put it, except for one thing. That's what I was pulling up right here. If I, wasn't that obvious, there has been one singular moment. So we were heading 180 degrees south, right? And I promise we're good. I have three good things. I give you my word. But we were heading 180 degrees south, and then Stephen Jones says this. The drought people say we're in, the air quotes, blah blah, and we're going, and it feels like, dude, there is no bottom. This is the Tower of Terror. Like we're just stuck on this ride forever and ever and ever again. And then the Cowboys start signing players in free agency. They start making some trades. Ooh, Kyrie Elam. Ooh, Kenneth Murray. Oh, okay. Ooh, we got some comp picks. Ooh, right. They're starting to turn around. And I would say that they're still, if this is all the way due south, I only think they're like here. Maybe they've, turned 91 degrees. I think, so they're technically northern bound at this point. That being said, there was one moment where they dipped back down. One singular moment ever since January 27th. And that singular moment here, because I had to find this, was Jerry Jones pretending that he did not know David Mulugeta's name. This was the exact quote from Jerry Jones. And for context, the date in question was April 1st, appropriately, that this happened on April Fool's Day. Jerry Jones at the NFL owners meeting said, are you kidding me? That's just not something you should worry about. You should be worrying about your ability to make it work. This is talking about the Micah deal. And you should be worried about what the player does. Does he have good enough help? Blah, blah, blah. The agent is not a factor here or something to worry about. And I don't know his name. Like completely unprompted. There wasn't someone who was like, oh, what's his name? He's like, I don't know. No, and I don't know his name. And so I mean, we don't need to go through this whole quote. My point to you is that was the only moment. Whoa, I didn't mean to do that. We're good. That was the only moment where the Cowboys themselves did something that was stupid, right? That's ever since. I think you can draw a very legitimate and real literal line out. Making sure that my computer didn't explode. So after the air quote line, one moment, one hiccup. That's pretty impressive. I mean, that's not one of my three things, but it's pretty impressive that from January 27th to today, almost 5 full months. I think that's almost 150 days, and almost that's like a third of a year, right? More than a third of a year. It's almost half of a year, right? In this amount of time, that there has been one hiccup from the Cowboys. Pretty good. All right. I mean, well done. Now, there was one thing. This, again, is not a positive thing, but it kind of is. This isn't part of my three, but it's a bit of a bonus one because you may have forgotten the whole point, the whole purpose of this exercise and conversation is to refresh your mind, to tell you some things that may have happened that you forgot about. That's why I'm here. That's literally my job, is to talk Dallas Cowboys and make sure that your plate is full with Dallas Cowboys content. The thing in question, do you know? Do you not? It was DeMarcus Lawrence going off, dragging the Cowboys. This was his first interview in Seattle. Let me zoom back out a little bit. Dallas is my home, but I know for sure I'm not going to win a Super Bowl there. This was crazy. This was wild. If you remember, I did a show that same day. I was at Pebble Beach, really, tried to kill my vibe, but you can't in Pebble Beach, if we're being honest. And then that led to a bit of a back and forth. Micah Parsons said, this is what rejection and envy look like. This is some clown stuff. It's a family show here. And then noted, it's my time. DeMarcus Lawrence responded to Micah, said, calling me a clown won't change the fact that I told the truth. Maybe if you spent less time tweeting and more time winning, I wouldn't have left. It was my humble opinion that this, and remains my humble opinion, that this response from DeMarcus Lawrence, this was March 13th, by the way. This was a little bit, less than a month before the David Mulugeta thing. But I thought this line from DeMarcus made me think the whole thing was scripted. I really, if I'm being honest with you, it felt kind of WWE-ish after the DeMarcus closeout. But I thought all along, and man, good, I keep clicking this thing. I thought, and I maintain, and I told you all this during the show that I did at Pebble Beach, that looked really good for the Cowboys. Like, I stand by that. I think the Cowboys, that situation, DeMarcus Lawrence, insult, clap back, whatever you want to call it. I think the Cowboys looked great in that. Like, DeMarcus Lawrence said the thing that like every single person on Facebook says, right? Like every stupid meme you've ever seen on Facebook is what DeMarcus Lawrence said. Like, oh, the Cowboys have won the Super Bowl forever. Like, okay, we know. And the like cell phone of like, were you not a part of this? You know what I mean? Type thing. Like, my point is like, And then the Cowboys released a statement. They were super kind about DeMarcus, blah, blah. Like, they looked really good. I thought they handled that with grace and with dignity. Stephen Jones handled that with grace and dignity. Look, I got to be fair to Stephen, right? If we're going to do the air quotes thing, he was very complimentary, said DeMarcus was a wonderful player for the team. And he's right. DeMarcus Lawrence was an amazing player for the team. So again, that feels like forever ago. That was 4 months ago at this point in time, but that really did happen. And that was kind of before free agency had felt like a hit for the Cowboys, certainly before the trades and before the draft and obviously before the George Pickens trade. But that really did happen. It's kind of wild that's the one that I really was like, wow, that happened in March. It was just, kind of strange to think of that way. To catch you up again, we're looking at things in a number of ways. This is my last non-3 things. These are the notable things in terms of departures for the Cowboys. You see DeMarcus Lawrence is listed as heading to Seattle. Jordan Lewis to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Chuma Edoga followed him. Chauncey Golston went to the New York Giants, in case you forgot about that. We'll see him on the NFC East edition of Hard Knocks. Rico Dowdle to his hometown-ish Carolina Panthers. And Cooper Rush to the Baltimore Ravens. I know you might have forgotten that one. I have the hiccups now. I don't know why, but either way, I'm certain that there's one here that you forgot about. But these things did happen. Again, just trying to refresh your mind, refresh your memory. And let's go ahead and get to the first positive one, and that is Osa Odighizuwa. All right, the Cowboys got a long-term deal done with him before the franchise tag deadline. That was sick, and that happened, like a day or two before the DeMarcus Lawrence thing. But they got a deal done with Osa Odighizuwa and did not have to franchise tag him. When we, at the beginning of the offseason, I totally put my hand up here. At the very beginning of the offseason, when we made predictions about the offseason that was going to come for the Cowboys, we said they're not going to do anything in free agency. We were kind of wrong. Not totally wrong, but let's be straight up. We were wrong. We said they're going to drag this out with Osa. They're going to place the franchise tag on him. We were definitely wrong about that. We said they're not going to get a Micah Parsons deal done anytime soon. We were definitely right about that. We said they're not going to get deals done with players like Deron Bland, Tyler Smith. Brandon Aubrey, we obviously didn't know George Pickens was an option at that point in time. So far in mid-June, we're right about that. So this was the first zigging where we thought they would zag, that they beat. And if anything, I think if you thought they were going to get a long-term deal done with Osa, I think if you had come back from the future, right, in February and told me, look, I have seen it. All right. Doc, me, Marty, Jennifer, for whatever reason, came back 88 miles per hour, 1.21 gigawatts, the whole thing, right? There's a long-term deal with Osa. I would have said, all right, bet, respect. I guarantee you that they place the tag on him and they get it done in May, right? They use it as a placeholder and get it done. And they didn't have to do that. And not only did they not have to do that with him, but they didn't have to do it in a different sense with Kevontae Turpin. They got him a deal, didn't have to go the RFA stuff, blah, blah, blah. So they deserved and still deserve some kudos and some attaboys for taking care of these types of things, because this is what we ask. And it's important if we're going to remember all the bad, and we're going to remember the air quotes, and we're going to remember the not remembering David Mulugeta's name and all this different stuff. We have to remember the good. We have to be balanced. We have to be fair. We have to say what's fair, good, bad, both, indifferent, whatever. And it was a very, very good thing that the Cowboys took care of Osa Odighizuwa. Now, can you make an argument that they should have taken care of him a year ago? Hey, that's the kind of the conversation that we're having right now with Deron Bland and Tyler Smith and, whatever. So proactivity is never a bad thing. We say that all the time, but they did get it done nevertheless and deserve some credit for it. So the Osa Odighizuwa thing happening may have been something you remembered, but it's important to remember that not only did it happen, it happened before the 11th hour. It was like the 10th hour or the 9th hour. I mean, it was close, but it still happened before the 11th hour, and that was very cool. So that was the first cool thing that happened to the Cowboys across this offseason. Number 2 is kind of cheating, but hey, it's mid-June, so I'm gonna do what I want. And that is the draft class for the Dallas Cowboys. This is it. It feels like a while in the rearview mirror. I recognize that because so much has happened, although not really. But remember these names. Again, these are the players the Cowboys drafted, because we've reached a point now where we're so excited about George Pickens and this and that and whatever that we're kind of, right, Tyler Booker, hello. He's the first round pick. He's going to be kind of good. Donovan Ezuraku, still not signed technically, but I think whatever, not going down that rabbit hole, but has a chance to really contribute. Savon Ravel, that's the one where we're kind of like, what's this going to look like here? I mean, what's corner going to look like in general? But Savon Ravel, definitely a player, obviously, to be very excited about. I think Jaden Blue has gotten some more pop, honestly, online than Ezuraku or Ravel have, because he plays a skill position, because he's local in terms of the college he played for, and he's a running back, and everyone's been kind of starving for a new toy at that position. Shamar James, I'm very excited about. I mean, I think that this, remember how excited you were. That's the point in bringing this up. Like when this ended, this tweet was from the day the draft ended on April 26th, that Saturday afternoon. On April 26th, April 27th, on the 3rd of May, when you were May the 4th thing, everybody, you were pumped about the Dallas Cowboys draft class. I know some of that has faded just because it's been a little bit of time, but remember how excited you were. Remember how excited we all were. Phil Maffa, I mean, is going to be a kind of an awesome 1-2 punch. You know, that was another interview that I did. CJ Spiller, the running backs coach at Clemson, got me so pumped about Phil Maffa. I cannot underscore enough how excited we were, and rightfully so, about this, because the Cowboys let their board come to them. They did not press, and this group becomes all the more interesting. And this was something I talked to Lindsey Rhodes about. Again, that interview drops on Thursday on the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel. We all thought, and thought might not be the right word, but we all anticipated that if Ted McMillan was on the board at 12 overall in the first round, and he wasn't, to be clear, that the Cowboys were going to take him, and they probably would have. But that was not to be the case, because, you know, you could argue, you know, the Panthers had a need because they traded Jonathan Mingo. In fact, I've never thought of it this way, but, you know, if we think about it, the Panthers traded Jonathan Mingo, right, to the Cowboys for a 4th-round pick. We all know this, right, and a 7th-round swap. Okay, so that was the first domino that fell and led to the Panthers having a need at wide receiver and being Ted McMillan, all right? And that's how they filled the need, obviously, in the first round this year. And the Cowboys still had a need because Jonathan Mingo didn't work out. Not trying to drag Mingo here. But their need was so exacerbated, particularly because they did not get Ted McMillan, that they had to trade a 3rd-round pick after the draft to the Pittsburgh Steelers for George Pickens. So you can argue that, you know, the 4th that the Cowboys gave up in this year's draft, the 2025 draft, and the 3rd were ultimately the price that you had to pay for Pickens. Maybe that concept made sense to you already, but, you know, it just kind of clicked a little bit in my mind, if that makes sense. But that being said, George Pickens is somewhat, I don't think it's fair to say, but somewhat a factor, somewhat a part of this draft class. Not totally. I always thought it was silly when people would say, like, oh, Amari Cooper's technically a part of the 2019 draft class. You can't say that, and we can't say that about Pickens next year, but he adds to this group of improvements that the Cowboys have made to their roster this offseason, along with the likes like Solomon Thomas. By the way, kudos to Solomon Thomas for, I don't know if anybody saw this. Let me pull this up actually while we are here educating you on things you don't know. Solomon Thomas Instagram. I saw this on Saturday or Sunday, and it was so cool. I'm super happy for it and proud of Solomon Thomas. Let's see. Let's put this up on your screen. This is Solomon Thomas's Instagram. He made a Broadway debut in MJ, like literally on Broadway. I don't know if any of you remember. I know we're off on a tangent here, but that's kind of what we do. When Solomon Thomas was on the New York Jets, and remember when they were on Hard Knocks a couple years ago, the first year of Aaron Rodgers and how it all went, blah, blah, blah. Solomon and the defensive line kind of bonded over Broadway. He had never seen a Broadway show. It was a big old thing. And then they went and saw some Broadway shows. I think they actually went and saw this show. They went and saw MJ the Musical. So he was apparently, developed a relationship with the production, developed a relationship with Broadway in general. And it was in a show. That's pretty cool. So kudos to Solomon Thomas. The Cowboys signed an actual Broadway employee this offseason. Pretty stinking cool. And also got Andrew Whitecotton and Clayton Adams. Like, again, there is a lot here that has happened. This, when Mike McCarthy took over in 2020, there was a lot of change that happened, but it felt like an anvil. This has felt like like a slow drip, right? Like, and I say that in a good way, and the anvil was good too, but like, I'm sure that as I say all these things, are like, there's all these different things and places that have been touched up and whatever. It kind of feels like when you haven't been somewhere in a long time, like you go to, I don't know, a restaurant, you're like, they moved the chairs around. Like, there's more room over here now. Now we can sit, we can have our party of 8 can sit right here. It's perfect. And the menu is different. Wow. Like it's just a different kind of vibe. And I think that's what this Cowboys offseason has felt like, and it's not even July yet. That's the interesting part. Like, we haven't really even gotten to see it all click in terms of regular football patterns and rhythms, which we'll obviously see once training camp begins. But Solomon Thomas was an addition, and his Broadwayness obviously was, a part of this all. But I think when you look at the collective, when you think about all the additions, let's kind of throw it all under one blanket there. You've got the draft class, you've got Solomon Thomas, you've got Dante Fowler making his return, you've got the 4 trades that they executed, you've got Kaiir Elam, Kenneth Murray, Joe Milton, obviously George Pickens, you've got Jack Sanborn coming aboard from Matt Eberflus's defense in Chicago. You've got 2 free agent running backs. I know we kind of talked Javonte Williams a lot, but Miles Sanders was a name as well. You've also got, you could call it addition by subtraction, and nobody means anything disrespectful here, but moving on from Zeke Elliott, letting DeMarcus Lawrence go, watching Zach Martin retire. That happened this offseason as well. Watching Tyron Smith retire, even if he did spend a year with the New York Jets, and Solomon Thomas, right? Like, all these, just kind of massive things have happened over this offseason. A whole Netflix series was like wrapped up and put into a package that we're going to get in August. The Cowboys, I mentioned already, are going to be on Hard Knocks. Like, there's just a tornado, a vacuum that is just swirling us around of changes and things happening to and from with the Cowboys, that it's a lot to kind of recall happening over a time where no actual games were played, which is very, very, very cool. But if we talk about the, most notable or most whatever things that happened over the course of the offseason, number one is very, very obvious. And I tell you all the time that I was against it because I want you to hold me accountable. It was the George Pickens trade. This is the most impactful thing, even if I was against it initially. This is what has the potential. This is the one outcome that Doctor Strange saw, right? And was like, there's whatever the line is. How many outcomes did Doctor Strange see? Let's see. How many outcomes did Doctor Strange see? Doctor Strange saw 14,605,000 possible outcomes in the battle against Thanos. And very, very, very famously saw the Avengers only winning one. I don't even know what percentage that is. Like, I don't know how you quantify that, but 1 out of 14,604. I mean, there were 14,605,000. Excuse me. That means, though, that there were 14,604 outcomes for the Cowboys in which they did not have a proper wide receiver opposite of CeeDee Lamb. This is scenario I think there was a number for the scenario. Whatever. You get the point of the analogy. This is the most impactful thing. This is the flap of the butterfly's wing. This is what potentially seriously changes everything. If there is a day in the season, whether it's in week 10 or week 13 or week 18 or wild card weekend or God willing divisional weekend, God willing conference championship, right? If there is a day where we look back and say it was totally worth it, everything was amazing, this, that, whatever, where did it start? If we trace it all back to the very beginning, it is right here. Right there, right there. It is right here. It is number 3 after being number 13 initially, wide receiver George Pickens, because he elevates CeeDee Lamb. He elevates Dak Prescott. He elevates Jake Ferguson. He elevates, Luke Schoonmaker. He elevates whoever the running back is, Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, Jaden Blue. He elevates the job and the mission of the Tylers and Cooper Beebe and Terrence Steele. He elevates Brian Schottenheimer as a play caller. He elevates Clayton Adams. Like, everybody's job became easier and they became more successful at them when the Cowboys acquired George Pickens. Will they miss a 3rd-round pick next April? You betcha. And you don't think so right now, but we will. We will complain and we will moan and we will groan. And hopefully we sit there and say, this sucks, but it was totally worth it. Like, that's the goal. I mean, this is it. When you talk about the way we kind of titled this was the top moments from the offseason, and those other moments, the D-Law thing, the Steven air quotes thing, whatever, they were top in that they were notable, but this is the top. This is euphoria. This is El Dorado. This is the moment when I ask you for your favorite, in fact, if you can leave a comment down below and let me know on social media for your favorite moment, your favorite acquisition, your favorite trade, your favorite day of the offseason. I have a hard time believing that you're going to come up with anything that is, not the George Pickens trade. Because even if you shared the sentiment that I did, even if you were against it, even if you believe that Pittsburgh's moving on and, he's been annoying on the field, blah, blah, there is no way that you can believe that and believe that he won't help the offense, because I don't believe that he won't help the offense. I believe there's a risk associated with it. I think that's fair to say, but I think it's obviously a risk worth taking. EP17 says Turpin will be the third wide receiver. I don't think so. I think it's Jalen Tolbert. If I'm being totally honest with you, I think the Cowboys are pretty committed to that. But I do think that Kevontae Turpin is another person, another player, another wide receiver who got better. Jalen Tolbert got better, right? Like all these dudes got better because the responsibility on their shoulders is no longer as large. You don't have to go out and be a superhero, Jalen Tolbert. You don't have to go out and have a 65-yard touchdown every play, Kevontae Turpin, because you have proper wide receivers who can command that attention and who can, lift that weight, lift that burden themselves, and you can pick up the slack in different ways. That's what we've been saying, what we've been screaming, what we've been singing and preaching about for so long relative to this team, and they finally did it, right? This, in many ways, I don't want to get ahead of myself here because I still have issues with this team. I think we all do, and I think that that's fair. But that being said, this offseason in many ways felt a little bit like we heard you. And I've said this before, like even if we just annoyed this front office into doing these things, even if they were like, these losers just want another wide receiver. Fine, let's shut them up. Fine. If that's what it was, cool. I have no issue with that. I agree with you. Caleb Willis says running game got better with 2 number ones on the outside. Exactly. Like everything improved. And like, what a phenomenon, right? Like if you're the front office and you're like, well, I guess that one move we made like helped everybody. Yeah, that's, look, I'm not saying I could run an NFL team. I don't think Caleb Willis or EP17 or whoever you are watching, I don't think that that's what you're saying. I think that we're all saying that we've been sick of not doing different things. And that's where I will own up to the most, about my original take on the Pickens trade is, and a lot of people said this to me in the moment, which is part of why I reconsidered and thought about it and everything like that, that we have been asking them to be bold, to be cunning, to be daring. And they have done that in certain respects. And dare I say it, to tie a perfect bow on things you may have forgotten happened this offseason, this was the offseason of selectively aggressive. And I'm going to ask you this question, and I would like whoever you are, wherever you are, however you are, to answer me, whether that's in the chat on Bleacher Report, or if you can leave a comment on the YouTube channel, or you can hit me up on social media. By the way, if you ever do want to hit me up, the best way to get into contact with me is through my DMs on Instagram. That being said, I'm going to ask you honestly and let go of the joke and the meme of it all, because I know that it's easy to do. Do you think, in your estimation, were the Cowboys selectively aggressive this offseason? It's an annoying phrase, and I hate that we have these things. I hate that it was all in. I hate selectively aggressive. It's dumb. It's stupid. It's a waste of time, in my opinion. I don't care if it's content or whatever. It's silly. That being said, if that truly was the mantra, if that truly was the disposition, if they truly said to themselves, hey, we want to be selectively aggressive, if that was their creed and their code, as I have said many times, they did not have a North Star last year. If that was it, if that was the sign they hung above the locker room, like Believe and Ted Lasso was selectively aggressive, then damn it, I have to say that I think that they did it. I think that they were selectively aggressive. I think they found their opportunities, they identified them selectively, and they pounced when they could. They pounced on certain trades for veteran players who they felt could help them at positions of need that didn't leave them handicapped entering the NFL draft, like Kyrie Lim at corner, like Kenneth Murray at linebacker, like Joe Milton at QB2, and certainly, obviously, like George Pickens at wide receiver, even if that did happen after the draft. And I think they were selectively aggressive with the quote-unquote gambles they took in the draft because they did those things. Those things raised their floor, raised their ability to be able to have that luxury, to be able to, be that risky, that cunning, whatever you want to call it. Like we said, the reason they were able to take Donovan Ezeuroku, even though they have some players at defensive end already, the reason they were able to take a chance on Savon Ravel with the injury questions and et cetera, all those things are great. The last thing, and we've said it a million different times, and I don't know how many languages to say it in at this point, but you take care of the Micah deal, and we will clap for you. We will stand up, and we will give you an ovation. So kudos for doing what you said you were going to do with being selectively aggressive. You have earned your props. But if you want us to now put the ultimate cherry on top, things that happened across the course of this entire offseason, get this Micah deal done before you board the plane for Oxnard. And we will say respect on being a little bit different, because that's the only way that you're acting like the people that we don't like. And I rest my case. My name is RJ Ochoa. You can follow me on social media, like I said, at RJ Ochoa on most platforms, RJ.Ochoa on TikTok. You can search for my Facebook page, RJ Ochoa. This is the Blog and the Boys YouTube channel, but I have my own individual YouTube channel as well. You can subscribe to it at the link down below on YouTube. You can also follow me on LinkedIn, whatever you want. Email is rj.ochoa@sbnation.com. I see this question in the chat from Ping King 22 says, do you think we actually run motion pre-snap and be consistent? I absolutely believe that Brian Schottenheimer wants to utilize, let's call them modern concepts. I absolutely believe that. I mean, but that is the great mystery because we haven't really seen much of his offense. And I'm excited to learn. I'm excited to figure this thing out. It's at the very least going to be, it's been a long time since the Cowboys head coach was the play caller. And so I'm looking forward to that being the case at the very least. But if you're on YouTube, interview with Sean Sharif went out today. Interview with Lindsey Rhodes out on Thursday. Yeah, I hope you have something delicious. I've got some ice cream in my freezer. If you think I should eat it, somebody just comment, eat the ice cream. Just give me the motivation that I need, please. Anybody. Thanks so much for hanging out, everybody. We will see you next time.